Okay, we are live on YouTube.
All right. Good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon session of the Landmarks Preservation Commission's public hearing of March 22nd, 2022. We will begin this afternoon with public hearing item number 5. This meeting is being held via Zoom, and if you would like to testify on any of the items this afternoon, please join our Zoom meeting at the estimated time shown on the agenda, which can be found on our website. And with that, I will turn it over to our Director of Preservation, Corey Harala, to take us through the afternoon agenda.
Okay, thanks. And I know we are still trying to get one of the team members, but I'll go ahead and read this in. And if we do have some delay, perhaps someone else from the team can take over to start. So we're looking at item number 5. This is an application. This is LPC 22-07331, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Queens, Block 8033, Lot 53, 237 Beverly Road in the Douglaston Historic District. An arts and crafts style house designed by Frederick J. Schroeder Jr. and built in 1924. And the application is to alter the house and construct additions.
Okay, commissioners, our final applicant has entered the webinar. Chrissy, I am going to promote you. Please accept that. Perfect. Chrissy, you now have control of the presentation. You just need to click on your screen. Okay. Unmute yourself. Perfect. State your name for the record and you may begin.
Do I have control? Okay, yes, I do. Okay, good afternoon, commissioners. This is Chrissy Kasimis from Camberys Engineering. I'm here joined by Costa Camberys, the applicant of record. In August 10th, 2021, the application for a certificate of appropriateness was denied. We're here today with a revised proposal that responds to the comments made at the last hearing, and it's more in tune with the historic district of the house. I'm going to walk you through the presentation. So here we have some historical information of the house that you're aware of. The main the architectural style of the house is arts and crafts. We have a tax photo from 1940 where you can see the original condition of the house. This is a snapshot from Beverly Road. I'm going to keep on going to some historic photos where you can see this is the side, and we can see the porch on the side. The views are not very good because of the vegetation, so I'm gonna keep on going. This is these are the original conditions of the house today. So not today, but a few months ago. So we can see a view from Beverly Road, where you can see the entrance of the house on the side, the dormer on the roof, and the rest of the elements. On side plan, the side of the side elevation with the entrance is over here, and next to it we have a porch and the dormer on the roof. So I'll keep on going. These are some additional photos to see the house all around. This is the front of the house. This is the rear, and the side with the entrance, and the porch next to the entrance of the house. And this is the other side elevation, which serves as the back of the house. Okay, so here you can see the previous proposal on the right side and what we currently propose. The new proposal is an extension on the first floor to enclose part of the porch, a second floor addition in the rear, one new dormer in the side, new windows throughout the house, and modification of some openings in the side, in the east elevation, in the side elevation, where we also propose to add some condensing units. So the previous proposal, the one on the right, shows a greater scope of work, where we proposing to enclose the porch, extend on the other side of the entrance, have a second floor addition in the front of the house and in the rear, changing the dormers of the house, having widening the existing dormer and adding through additional dormers. We have some axonometrics of the original conditions and our new proposal, where you can see all sides, yes. So this is our current proposal, and to compare it with the previous, we have this axonometric where you can see that we were changing the type of we didn't maintain the same roof style in our additions, and the extensive, the enclosure of the porch that was extending on the other side of the entrance, and the additional 3 dormers plus the revised existing one, and the second floor addition in the rear. So to compare it, just to remind you what was proposed in the past and what we are proposing now, which is this, and it's more in tune with it respects the original massing of the house and the architectural elements, the heaped roofs, without revising the existing dormer, leaving the entrance intact, and just enclosing the porch, but setting back from the entrance and leaving the entrance as a prominent element of this elevation. And then here you can see the rear of the house with the openings that we have proposed. So I'm gonna continue to show you some elevations of this proposal. This is the front elevation, the existing elevation. We are maintaining the existing window openings. And what we propose is a 6/1 type of window compared to it wasn't like that before. We can see just a simple double hung window, and the other change is that the original mullion in the windows was about 6 inches, and in our proposal what we show is a little bit thinner, 4 inches, but the overall opening of every window is the same. Here you can also see the new dormer in the side elevation. And I will continue with the side elevation where the entrance is, where you can see again that we maintain the window openings, the existing window openings, and we propose one double hung window on the addition and extensive glazing, I'm sorry for this, extensive glazing in the enclosed porch. This is the rear of the house. What we have proposed here, as far as it concerns the openings, is actually serving the purposes of the interior of the house mostly, and because it's in the back and it's not visible from any street, we thought that this is appropriate. You can also see the new dormer proposed from this view. And this is the east elevation, which serves as the back of the house. As you can see, originally there is not a specific, the windows don't follow a specific symmetry, or they're not regular, but this is the back of the house, and every window in this elevation actually is either in a kitchen, in a bathroom, especially the smaller ones. So they serve mostly the purposes of the interior of the house than respecting some kind of symmetry or proportions that have to do with the exterior of this elevation. So the main change is that we are proposing to make this window smaller, which is in a bathroom, and the windows of where was the kitchen previously, and now we have another bathroom. We have eliminated one window here, and we are showing this window that matches the other side of the house, the west elevation, and the condensing units. We have also added two views from the street, one from Beverly Street and one from East Drive, from Beverly Road, and one from East Drive, to see the visibility of these units, which is they will be partially visible only during the winter time, where there's no foliage. So during the summer, you can see that the whole elevation is not visible from this street. Moving forward with some sections, and then we have a few precedents to show similar what has been approved by LPC in the past. We have two examples of all the examples that you will see in the presentation are from arts and crafts style. So we have two examples here where the houses have more than one dormers. Actually, they have four. And one example of one new dormer in an arts and crafts house that didn't have any in the past. This is the one in 140 Prospect Avenue. And another one that is here, 223 Grosvenor, where they have been proposing, to add a dormer in the side elevation, again, that serves the back of the house, like in our case. In the same house, they have been doing an addition on the second floor, like the one that we propose, maintaining the style of the roof, a hipped roof, and having similar, maybe a little bit smaller, but similar window openings. Then the following example shows an extension of the house, of a house in all three floors, where what they have been doing is that they're just setting back, and they maintain the same window openings and the same materials and the same proportions of the openings. Continuing here, again, in this one, they have been doing an extension on the side. And what they have been doing here is that they're changing completely the window openings, eliminating a window where this part of the house is not visible. So they have been eliminating one window and changing the windows on the second floor and the first floor. They have done a second floor addition, maintaining the same style of the roof and aligning the eaves like what we propose. And on the other side of that extension, again, they have been continuing with the same materials and adding a similar window opening. Okay, we have a few examples of side extensions of houses, like this one here, and this one where they have been enclosing a terrace, having again a heaped roof. They maintain the heaped roof, and they have been using same windows. And so in these examples, I'm trying to show how the organic way of extending the house, of extending the building, has been used, which is one of the characteristics of arts and crafts. And in the bottom, you can see an enclosure of the front porch. And what we see here is that they have been using extensive glazing, bigger openings, for the people to be able to read that this was a porch before. Excuse me, I missed one. This is LP 18. Okay, here a similar example of extending on the second and first floor. Again, they maintain the materials, the roofs align, and the window openings are pretty much the same as the ones in the original house. And we continue here. In this example, they have been changing the window openings completely in the rear. They have been extending on the second floor and on the first floor, eliminating windows, changing one window to a patio door, again, in a way that serves the interior purposes of the house, the purpose of the interior layout. And in this particular example, the rear elevation is much more visible from the street than in our case. Moving forward, we have several examples of arts and crafts houses in the area that have more than one dormers. And then we can continue with the floor plans. This is the cellar plan, existing and proposed. We're not changing the footprint of the building, as you can see here. On the second floor, you can see how we enclose part of the porch. The porch was extending beyond the entrance of the building. And you can see here how we set back from the entrance and the extensive glazing. On the second floor, the rear addition on the second, and the heaped roof that we maintain for the first floor enclosure, for the enclosure of the porch. Following is the attic, where you can see the rear dormer, and a roof plan where you can see all the final outcome of the roofs. We are maintaining the slopes of the roof, of the original roof, and in the enclosure of the porch, again, we maintain the same slope. And the roof of the new dormer is identical to the original dormer. We have a window schedule here. We have already purchased windows that have mountings. This is a typical window of arts and crafts houses in the area. So the owner wanted to change what was original, just a simple double hung with 6/1 windows. The mountings of the windows are inside the glazing, so they're flat. We have been discussing with the staff how we can add grid to make it more typical of a traditional 6/1 window. Following, we have a construction detail. These windows will be made out of wood, and they have aluminum cladding. The original windows were wood windows. We have some schedules here of the original and proposed. And again, because we will be changing the roofing material of the roofs. What we propose is to match the existing roofing, the same shingles and the same color, and we will change. We will restucco all the facades and maintain the same style of the stucco, and have the same stucco in the extensions, in the addition and the front porch enclosure. These are some pictures of what has been done already. This is the west elevation with the entrance. This is the front and the side, and this is the rear. I think I'm done with the presentation. If you have any questions, thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Okay, so I'm not sure we have questions, although I have a couple. And just for, commissioners, the last time we saw this, work was in progress. So this was the subject of a violation or a warning letter, and we were addressing it and took action to deny it. And the application is back today in a different form with actually a reduced scope of work. But the question I have is, can you go to a site plan just so that we can understand, because the side of the house is really facing the street, correct?
No, the side, what is facing, okay, I'll go to the site plan so you can
Let's go to the site plan.
so you can see exactly how it is. So this is the site plan, but I'll go to the original one here.
Okay,
So the street is here, and what is facing the street is this elevation, which is on this side. And this side, this is a side elevation that is visible from the street, and the entrance of the house is here. So,
okay, so the entrance facade faces the neighbor. So it's the side of the house with the one-story addition that faces the street, and then you can look down and see the entrance facade and the other side or facade. And is the back of the house visible from a public thoroughfare?
no.
And so the addition at the back, which you're proposing to raise to 2 stories, do you see that as you're looking down the sides of the building, the house from the street?
You should be able to see just a small part of it here from Beverly Road, but it's really not visible.
Okay. All right. And the HVAC units are on the other side, the side opposite the
Correct. Yeah.
entrance facade facing the neighbor. Okay, and are partially obscured or seasonally obscured, I should say. And the windows, in addition, I know you said you had in between the glass muntins, and you were exploring that. Do the windows have a frame or a brick mold or casing around the perimeter?
They do. They have a frame around the perimeter. Yes.
And does that same profile then serve as half of the mullion, so that the frame goes around, and is that what creates the mullion between the paired windows?
I can. The mullion is. I think it's. Let me go to the elevation of the windows so we can see clearly how this works. Okay, so here it is. The mullion is quite separate from the frame. I should say.
But do you have a section that shows that?
We have, this is the section that we have. We don't have a section, we don't show them all in here.
Okay. And there's not really a brick mold, right? It's just inner parts of the window. Okay. And final question, the configuration of the window that you're proposing in the dormers, is that a single light window with 9 panes, or is it a double hung like the windows on the facade?
It's not a double hung, it's a fixed window. It's not reachable from inside, from the stair. So it's a fixed window. We didn't want to use a double hung in that specific location.
Right, because nobody can reach it to open it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so if there are no other questions, why don't we move to testimony, and we may have questions after that. So if you're in the meeting and would like to speak on this item, please raise your virtual hand so we can identify you. We will, as always, start with anyone who signed up in advance and get to all others, but everyone should raise their virtual hands so we can make sure we're capturing everyone, whether you signed up or not. Okay, and I will turn it over to Sasha Seeley to take us through the testimony.
Alrighty, thank you. Helen Freeman from Historic District Council. You should be receiving a request from me now, Helen. Okay, so you have accepted my request. Please just unmute your mic and state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, Helen Freeman from Historic Districts Council. God and the devil are often thought to be found in the details. This presentation lacks sufficient documentation of detailing of surfaces and trim for us to be able to properly evaluate its appropriateness. HDC is generally comfortable with the proposed massing of the project. However, we find the materiality and detailing of the project to be deficient. The blanket use of new stucco on all surfaces is clunky and belies a potential lack of knowledge of how to detail an arts and crafts home. We suggest that the applicant look at other examples of Frederick Schroeder's work and look for ways to articulate the building's lower extensions and entry portal. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Christina B. Conroy from Victorian Society of New York. You should be receiving a request from me. Okay, Christina, I see you have accepted my request. Please unmute your mic and state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
And I can find my notes here. Also, I suddenly have drilling going on outside, so I might have to talk loud. Okay. Good afternoon, commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I on?
Yes, you are. Please just state your name for the record.
Christina Conroy for Victorian Society, New York. Now, when the application to legalize changes to this building was heard on August 10th, 2021, the VSNY noted that the building was slightly outside the time period we usually focus on, but we chose to testify because the changes were massive. The changes being proposed at this time are not as sweeping, but we still have concerns and questions. Now, in denying the earlier proposal, the commissioners made some specific suggestions. Some of the suggestions have been incorporated into this proposal, but it's not clear whether all of them are on the table. Now, we're happy to see that the applicant is proposing the use of a pyramidal roof in the rear extension and has eliminated 2 of the proposed dormer windows from the top floor. The proposed 6/1 wood windows are handsome and seem to be appropriate. However, it's not clear from the historic photo if multi-light upper sash were original to the building. This should be clarified with the new windows should match the historic configuration. In our review of the August hearing, we noted that the applicant was proposing the use of EIFS cladding, and the commission has strongly recommended the use of cement stucco. There is a note on the proposed facade drawing calling out stucco, and we would like to see this clearly notified as cement stucco. Now, as in August, the commissioners who were present strongly recommended that the second floor addition to the sun porch be detailed, as other such additions in this district have been detailed with large areas of fenestration, so that it is read as an addition. It was not clear if the existing rear wing is considered a sun porch, but we note that the windows of the second floor addition on the rear wing haven't been extended or modified to signal that this is an addition, and we ask for clarification on this. Thank you, commissioners.
All right, thank you. Let me just take a glance back over. See if I see any more hands raised, and I do not see any more hands raised, so I will just note for the record that Queens Community Board 11 recommends the applicant enlarge the porch and adjust the sizing and placement of the windows. I will now pass it back over to you, Chair Carroll.
Okay, thank you very much. And so I'd like to turn to the applicant and ask if you'd like to respond to the comments and questions that we've heard in testimony. And just also to note for the record, I think it was stated in the just in the testimony we just heard that the windows are wood. They are in fact aluminum clad wood, correct? And I think that there was testimony about the lack of information in the details, including the muntins, mullions, and brick mold profiles. But maybe you can address that as well as some of the other comments that were raised. Okay, Ms. Cassinis?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. As far as it concerns the detailing of the window, we can provide more details. If the construction detail that we provided is not enough to show the mountings and show the mullion. As far as it concerns the second floor addition and whether it should read as an addition and separate from the original house, we've showed several examples where this hasn't been done. Having extensive glazing on the second floor just to show that this is an addition on the second floor, and it's not part of the original house. That's why I included in my presentation several examples where this is not the case. The second floor addition looks like part of the house, like an organic part of the house, but we're using other ways, like a subordinate roof to show that this is, or a setback to show that this is not part of the original house. This is my response to that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do we have any final questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm sending you all requests to unmute so that we can move to close the hearing and begin our discussion. Commissioner Devonshire, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank you. And Commissioner Chapin, would you second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed and we'll begin our discussion. And as I stated before, this application came to us after they had begun work without permits and presented a scope of work that included raising both the front wing and the back wing, as well as the porch, and adding dormers on 3 of the sides. There is an existing dormer, so that for a total of 4 dormers, replacing windows, among other things. And our comments were largely about detailing and scale and questions about materiality. And so the applicants, we denied that application. The applicants are back today with a reduced scope of work. They're raising the addition at the rear and enclosing the porch around the side, and are proposing 1 additional dormer and new windows and HVAC equipment. And so why don't we begin our discussion? Commissioner Goldblum, would you start this one?
Sure. All right. I remember this one well. Pretty egregious job. And I think it's gotten a lot better. I think kudos to the applicants and to the staff for pushing this forward. but I agree with the Victorian Society's comments in general. I think that the details here are lacking and have to be worked out with staff carefully. I'll list a few of them. The coping on the top of the side addition facing the street is nil, whereas in the existing and in a traditional building of this nature, there would be some detail there, an overhang, a material, bluestone, copper, I don't know, a stucco bump of some kind. There'd be something to make it, that wouldn't be a piece of aluminum. That would be that'd be an appropriate way to stop that front facade of the house. I would also say that the windows should be simulated true divided light types, or should be 1/1, with my personal preference being the former. Anything less would not comport with our normal standards for street-facing facades. The fascia at the roof doesn't show a gutter, so I would ask the staff to work with them to investigate that. And if there's a Yankee gutter there, then that's fine, but it should be shown. And if not, if it's a real gutter, then gutters and leaders should be thoughtfully placed and should be made of a material and style that was commensurate with the style of the house. The front porch, it features kind of oversized double hung windows that look like they come very close to the ground. And there's no structure between the windows that one can see. The windows seem to be mulled together one to the next with a wider post at the corner. I think that the normal way that this is done, and the applicant's own research has shown this in other examples that they showed us, was that this space should look like an enclosed porch. And an enclosed porch usually starts with a porch and then has windows added. So the porch here would probably be what was here before, wood columns, or they can be square in profile, but there should be some evidence of structure, and it'll probably help make it a real building as well, a side benefit. I think that the dormers as drawn are acceptable. And I think that the use of stucco is appropriate. And I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Devonshire?
Yeah, I would agree with everything that Commissioner Goldblum has said. I would wish to have it clarified that the stucco is in fact stucco on either a metal lath or some other support system rather than IFAS.
Thank you. Commissioner Lutfi?
So I would agree with both Michaels, and I'm just wondering, it's a lot of issues here. Maybe the applicant should come back.
Okay, well, why don't you give your comments? I think much of what we've been talking about are, sort of new set of windows that might actually otherwise meet the rules, but for aluminum clad material. But the details, as Commissioner Goldblum has suggested, would be along the lines of the kinds of windows the staff would approve regularly. So the porch posts and sort of filling in windows around where the porch posts would have been. And then the stucco and the coping and the fascia are sort of details related to the materials of the facade.
So, okay, fine. It's a lot of detail work, and it just, if it can all be worked out with staff, that's great. I guess I was thinking normally applicants don't come with so many little details that are not fleshed out.
I know. They're very specific recommendations,
Yeah.
though. It's not leaving it as to an open design question.
Got it.
But do you have other suggestions?
No,
or did you imagine?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Jefferson?
Let me check. Yeah, I agree with the two Michaels that their analysis is on point.
Okay. Commissioner Gustafson?
I agree with them as well, but nothing to add.
Okay, Commissioner Shamir Baron. Commissioner Shamir Baron, I think you're still muted.
Oh,
there.
I'm so sorry. Sorry
That's
about
okay.
that. I just said that I also agree with Commissioner Goldblum.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Chapin?
Yeah, I certainly agree with Commissioner Goldblum about the need to work very closely with the staff on all of the details, in particular the ones he referenced. I think in general, this is a very much improved proposal from what we saw earlier, which was basically change the character of the building and the roof line in a substantive way. So I think that currently I can approve the just the one dormer, the additional, the smaller enclosed porch, and the general additions, because they are now subordinate to the building in a way they were not earlier. I also think Commissioner Goldblum, made reference to this as well, but the mixing of the window types has created a kind of a hodgepodge of window types, and I would like to see the staff work on, having a consistent type of window approach throughout, so that you don't have one side have one kind of windows, the other have the other, mixture on one side and that kind of thing, but that the windows have consistency, whether they're 1/1 or they are multi-light. So, but I think we could improve this, having the staff really work on all of the details that because I think that the massing and the additions are now appropriate.
Okay, and just to make sure I understand, when you say window types, you mean the number of panes versus fixed window versus double,
Yes,
or do you mean the
I'm
placement
sorry.
and size of them?
No, thank you, Sarah. I meant the number of muttons, and
Okay.
that's what I
Right.
meant by my remark.
Right, because I think if we were going to start moving the size and placement around, then we may want this to come back, because that would be more of a design issue, and that would be fine if that's what you meant, but I just wanted to make sure I understood.
That's correct.
Okay, and the addition at the back to go to the second level is something that I think you all have expressed comfort with, and Commissioner Chapin, you specifically talked about them being subordinate, but I think come to my attention that it is more visible than was presented by the applicant. So Corey, do you want to just show that photo in the winter, just so that everybody understands the visibility of that second floor addition at the back?
Okay, just give me one moment.
Oh, and Commissioner Holford Smith, I see your hand is up, so let me just, let Corey bring this up, and then we'll go to Anne. Okay. I'm sorry, Corey, to put you on the spot, because I realized the presentation is actually on a separate.
It's okay, just one moment. If you can see my screen now, you can see that in a wintertime view, this is the back of the house that's circled. There are a number of large trees. It's kind of on the opposite side of the block at an intersection, but it is visible. So just to clarify that point.
So if there are thoughts about how the roofs intersect or the material again, we can talk about that. And Commissioner Holford Smith.
Yeah, I think that it's a big improvement over the last time we saw this application. The massing of the original house is still intact. So I think in terms of massing, it's appropriate, but I totally agree with all the comments that have been made about the details, because there are none shown here really. And one thing that we kind of talked about a little bit, but didn't really comment on, was the size of the window in the new dormer is shown to be much larger than the existing window in the dormer. And I think that they should make the new window match the size of the existing. I think otherwise, I agree with the other comments. In terms of making the new roof or the new addition more subservient. I mean, it could set in slightly so that the original roof line reads and that the new roof sort of sets in just a bit. And we could actually carry down a control joint to show what has been added. It's a suggestion.
Okay. No, I appreciate that suggestion, especially since there is a view in the winter when you can see more of it. And I'm just, I am wondering if that is sort of that sort of design device is something we should see again. So I think maybe we will take no action today. We will ask the applicants to detail that second floor of the addition, to detail, and I think this is Commissioner Goldblum was talking about the coping or overhang on the front addition, or something can be thought about for the back addition, to do simulated true divided lights, detail the gutter and the fascias, revise the porch to have posts with windows within it, to regularize the configuration of windows and to match the size of the window opening within the dormers so that both dormers have the same size window opening. So I think it's very specific information and comments still, but I do think maybe we should have you come back as soon as you can to show us those specific details, and hopefully that will address any remaining issues. Okay, so we'll take no action today and have you come back with those final detail changes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move to the next item. That is public hearing item number 6, LPC 22-06502.
And Corey, can I interrupt as well on that last one? I also want to make sure that we get information about the stucco to ensure that it's a real stucco on lath and not EFIS. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Public hearing item number 6, LPC 22-06502, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 1891, Lot 35. 325 Riverside Drive in the Riverside West End Historic District Extension 2. This is a colonial revival style apartment building designed by Gaetan Aiello and built in 1920 to 21. The application is to install an engraving at the entrance and frame it.
Okay, commissioners, the applicants have entered the hearing and the staff will be presenting the presentation.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Dina Tass-Winter, preservation staff. The application before you is 325 Riverside Drive. It's a colonial revival style apartment building within the Riverside West End Historic District Extension 2. And the proposal is to engrave a new building name at the existing limestone entrance enframement. The name will honor a longtime tenant, advocate, and co-op board president. This 1940s tax photograph shows the original conditions of the facade, which is composed of brick and limestone with terracotta detailing. But to first provide some broader context, this map shows that named apartment buildings are commonly found within the Riverside West End Historic District and its extension. The map identifies every named building within these districts along the main thoroughfares of Riverside Drive and West End Avenue. These apartment buildings encompass a range of building ages and styles, and as such feature various entrance materials and treatments. So some, for example, have entrance canopies with the building names and addresses indicated. However, a number of the buildings shown within this map do feature masonry facades with historic engraved lettering at the stone entrance headers, which is similar to what is being proposed under this application. These are the existing conditions of the entrance at the subject premises. And this rendering shows the proposed engraved name. The applicants intend to hire an experienced stonemason to do the work, and he will utilize traditional hand carving methods. As you can see in this image, there is precedent for engraving at the cornerstone of this building, which indicates the name of the architect, and it can be seen in conjunction with the proposed location of work. The proposed engraving font will recall the font that is present at this cornerstone. And then this is just one example, if you think back to the map that was shown, of a similar building that features an historic engraved building name. And this shows the subject premises, primary facade, compared to that example. So I'll just return back to the slide showing the proposed condition, and the applicant is here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. All right, do we have any questions for the applicant? Okay, so let's move to public testimony. If you're in the meeting and would like to speak on this item, please raise your virtual hand so we can identify you. And I will turn it over to Sasha Seeley to take us through the testimony.
Righty, thank you. So I do see we have Mark Diller from Community Board 7. Mark, you should be receiving a request from me now. Okay, Mark, I see you have accepted my request. Please just unmute your mic and state your name for the record, then you can begin your testimony. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. Whoops, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Mark Diller. I'm grateful to Kay Carpin and Michelle Parker, the co-chairs of our Preservation Committee, for allowing me to present this application or this resolution today. And the reason why we wanted to testify in particular, this is not what we believe is a difficult application to approve, or we hope, but because it really grabbed at the hearts of us. We're certainly Zoom weary community board members, maybe we're world weary too. But this one really grabbed us, and we were very thrilled to not only to give it a unanimous approval both at committee and at full board. And if you know the Upper West Side of Manhattan, unanimity, I'm not sure I could get a unanimous vote that today's Tuesday. So it was welcome, and the nature of the application, which I think the slide went by really quickly, but there's actually a letter of support from then Borough President Gail Brewer, also noting the remarkable achievements of Mr. Sherwood. And what a wonderful way to remember him. This building was derelict in its earliest years when he was a tenant advocate. He was then one of the leaders that protected tenants' rights as it converted to co-op. And now this beautiful building is a member of an historic district, thanks to you good folks, as it should be. So this is a particularly moving thing. We noted, among other things, that how great to use this instead of one of those secondary street namings to recall a member of our community that is worthy of remembering and noting. Another note, by the way, is that the slide did show you 360 Riverside Drive, which is just up the block from this building, as one that is an example of one with this kind of lettering above its main entrance. It was actually designed and built by the same team that built this building as well. So from a presidential standpoint, from a community standpoint, and from a little bit of a heartstring standpoint, we unanimously recommend to you to approve this application. Thanks for your time.
All righty, thank you. Sean Corsandi from Landmark West, you should be receiving a request from me now. Okay, Sean, I see that you are in the meeting. Please just unmute your mic and state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Sean Corsandi for Landmark West. The Landmark West Certificate of Appropriateness Committee believes our landmarks are essential records of our past and that our past is ever expanding. The proposal to rename 325 Riverside Drive the Sherwood is fully supported because its impetus speaks to its own history and enriches that narrative, but also because the stewards of this landmark have wisely picked an appropriate font, scale, and positioning that will be seamless with the structure and not distract from it. The Upper West Side has a history of named buildings, and if 325 Riverside Drive wants to self-identify as the Sherwood, we will be allies and fully support that decision. The Landmark West Certificate of Appropriateness Committee recommends approval of this application. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Sean. Shauna Vey, you should be receiving a request from me now. Shauna Vey, just accept my request. Okay, I see that you are now in the meeting, so please just unmute your mic, turn on your camera if you wish, and state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Shauna Vey, a resident of 325 Riverside, and I'm here to read testimony from my neighbors, Amy and Birch Johnson of apartment 64. And they write, "We have been very fortunate to live at 325 for nearly 26 years, and even more fortunate to have known Jim Sherwood. He was an extraordinary individual who was passionate and caring about many things: his beloved wife and family, home, pets, church, legal work, and the trumpet. He found time for all of these, but every resident of our building benefited from his tireless work as board president in ensuring that 325 was not only financially sound and well-maintained, but most importantly, a welcoming and fair community for owners and renters alike, an admirable goal these days. Jim always made himself available to address questions and concerns of the residents and was supportive of all staff. Engraving Sherwood on 325 is a fitting tribute to Jim. May his guiding spirit continue.
Thank you. All right, Brendan Milfett. Okay, Brendan, I see you have accepted my request. Please just unmute your mic and state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Brendan Moffat. I'm a resident of 325 Riverside Drive. I've been living here for about a decade now, and I just wanted to chime in my support for this initiative as well, because Jim served for 40 years as our board president. He was also someone who set a tone of inclusiveness for the building with a "we're all in this together" approach. And he was a patient leader who was great with people and encouraged us to gang up on the problem and not each other. So the legacy that should be rightly honored with the renaming of the building is something that I support. So I just wanted to add to what everyone else is saying in this context.
Alrighty, thank you. Let me see if we have any more hands raised. And I do not see any more hands raised, so there is no one else who wishes to speak on this item. And we had the pleasure of having Manhattan Community Board 7 here. So I'll just state again that they recommend approval of this application. I'll pass it back over to you, Chair Carroll.
Thank you, Sasha. Yes, we had the pleasure of having Mark Diller come and speak to us once again, and we always welcome, Mark, your comments. So thank you very much. The testimony was all supportive, but I would like to turn to the applicant, Ms. Baker, and if you'd like to add anything, please go ahead. Just unmute yourself, yeah.
Yes, I'd like to thank Mark Diller too from Community Board 7. He gave a really, I couldn't say better how important Jim was to us and why I think this is an important initiative that the board is taking. I do have comments from another apartment owner, and I'd sort of like to read them because she spent a lot of time to do this, and it adds to the sort of picture that you have of the building. This is from Dina Schwartz from apartment 54. She said she had to leave. She was actually at the meeting, but she had to run off. She says, "I'm here to voice my support for the etching to add Sherwood to the front of the building. I've lived in the building for 9 years, and my husband and I are raising 2 young children. From day one, Jim Sherwood did all he could to make our building feel like a home. He led our co-op board in a truly admirable way. For every decision, he discussed the needs of all of our building residents and the careful trade-offs the building had to make. Every single time I saw him, he checked in on me and my family. After any issue came up, he would always make sure that we were set and comfortable with how it had been resolved. He really embodied what it means to be a neighbor and to build community, and it would be so meaningful to us to have our building entry right reflect this." And I think the testimony that you have so far here just it illustrates why we want to do this and why we think it's important. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any final questions? Okay, so I think we can move to close the hearing and begin our discussion. I've sent you all requests to unmute, so if you can accept those, that would be great. Commissioner Goldblum, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank you. And Commissioner Shamir Baran, would you second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the hearing is closed, and we'll begin our discussion, and this is for a name to be carved in the entablature above the entrance. And the applicant has shown many examples of named buildings with their names carved above the entry in this particular historic district, so a common feature of large apartment buildings here. And we've heard very moving testimony as well about the intent behind this and the person that's being recognized. So Commissioner Jefferson, would you like to start this one?
Sure. What an honor to be loved like that. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And this community hiring a craftsman to make the lettering beautiful, it's just wonderful. I support this, of course.
Thank you, Commissioner Gustafson.
Boy, with getting an entire building to agree with one another, you know, this guy should have been in Congress. Well, I could always say that I oppose, you know, apple pie and hot dogs and Chevrolet, but I don't. So I think this is appropriate on all levels.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shamir Baron.
Yes, that was very moving testimony, and there's certainly so much precedent for the actual work and proposal. So I think it's absolutely appropriate.
Commissioner Holford Smith.
I agree. I think it's a really nice tribute to someone who was very much loved.
Commissioner Chapin.
I agree with other commissioners, and it's discreet and well done. I think it's fine. I'm happy to approve it.
Commissioner Goldblum.
I agree. It's lovely.
Commissioner Devonshire.
Slam dunk, yes.
Okay. All right, so I think we're all in agreement. This is appropriate based on historic precedent and certainly will not overwhelm or detract from the building. So Commissioner Jefferson, would you make the motion?
Sure. In the matter of LPC 22-06502, 32 Riverside Drive, Riverside, West End Historic District Extension 2. A colonial revival style apartment building designed by Gaetan Ajello and built in 1920-1921. Application is to install an engraving at the entrance inframent. I note that the building style, scale, material, and details are among the features that contribute to the special architectural and historical character of the Riverside West East Historic District Extension 2. I recommend approval, finding that the engraving of buildings' names are typical installation found at the primary entrances of many large apartment buildings of this age and style within this and neighboring historic districts. That the engraving will be located in an area of plain limestone and will have a discrete presence and a large ornate facade. That the building name will be carved using traditional method at a shallow depth, thus minimizing the impact on the historic masonry. That the size of the lettering will be well scaled to the facade, and the font will closely match the fonts found at the existing engraving at the cornerstone of the building, and that the work will not detract from the special architectural historical character of the building or the Riverside West End Historic District Extension 2.
All right, and Commissioner Devonshire, would you second that motion?
I second that.
Thank you. Mark, will you call the vote?
Chair Carroll,
Aye.
Commissioner Shamir Baron,
Aye.
Commissioner Chapin,
Aye.
Commissioner Devonshire,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum,
Aye.
Commissioner Gustafson,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Aye.
I think Commissioner Lutfi is left. Commissioner Holford Smith.
Aye.
With 8 in favor and none opposed, the motion passes.
All right, that's approved. Thank you. And we'll move to the next and final item.
And that is public hearing item number 7, LPC 22-03819. An application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 1393, Lot 57, 20 East 79th Street in the Metropolitan Museum Historic District. This is a French neoclassical style house designed by CPH Gilbert and built in 1912, and the application is to install signage.
Okay, commissioners, the applicant has entered the hearing. Zach, you now have control of the presentation. You can just advance the slides using your arrow keys or your mouse. Please state your name for the record, and you may begin. Oh, Zach, you need to unmute yourself. Zach, you do have control of the screen. You just need to unmute yourself. Okay. Please don't hit escape. Please unmute yourself. Zach?
I don't see him, Abby. Do you see?
There he is.
Can you guys hear me?
Okay,
Sorry.
Zach, I'm gonna give this back to you. Please don't hit escape, but go ahead and state your name for the record. You do have control of the presentation. If you just use your arrow keys, you can move it to the next slide.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm on a Mac, so I'm a little out of my wheelhouse today. Good afternoon. My name is Zach Bauer. I'm with D' Design, and we are the architects who recently completed an interior renovation in this building in the project that I'm presenting to you today. Let's see if I can advance to the
Zach, would it be easier if I handled the slides and you can just tell me next slide when you're ready?
Perfect. Yep.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay, so this is our project, 2079th Street in the Historic District in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. So we recently completed an interior renovation. Historically, this is a single-family residential building built in 1912. And for many, many years, it's been converted to a gallery on the first through third floors and with residential above until recently with our interior renovation project, where the gallery has now acquired the top 2 floors. So it's a single tenant occupied building. With the gallery occupying all 5 floors, they're looking to put some exterior signage to note that on the front of the building. You can go to the next slide. So there's just a little map to show you where we're at. We're at the corner, almost at the corner of Madison and 79th Street on the Upper East Side. You want to go ahead to the next slide. Just a historic photo to show the residential building. Just one lot over from the corner. You can go ahead to the next slide. So you can see on the left side is the existing conditions. See the front door in the center there with a portico above. And to the left of the door, like so many galleries on the Upper East Side, has the address, the number 20, and in little black letters, it says Skarstead Gallery, which is the current gallery that occupies the space. And on the right side, the right image, you can see our proposal, which is to remove that little tiny black lettering to the left of the entry door and instead put Skarstead on the frieze of the portico above the front entry door in bronze lettering. You can go ahead and advance to the next slide. So this is just a snippet of the shop drawing for the proposal of the sign. So it's the word Skarstead to notify the gallery. It's about 68 inches wide for context, an 11-foot wide portico frieze, 7 inches high. And we kind of went over at length between our LPC contact and the sign fabricator, as well as the sign installer, of the best way to adhere the sign to the building to be temporary. So this is a proposal to use either a mixture of tape or silicone adhesive rather than drilling through a limestone facade. that we're told that with the adhesive, once the sign, if the sign is removed, it can be power washed on the limestone, which is a lot easier to restore the building to its existing condition now than if we were to drill and try to patch holes later. You can go to the next slide. So again, this is just a proposed image of Skarstead above the front entry door. It's 1-inch bronze letters that are about 7 inches high. So it's partly a branding for the client because they have a couple of galleries in Europe with very similar light limestone buildings with the word Skarstead above, but also it's a way of wayfinding for the gallery because we're on 79th Street with a sort of a big wide road at a busy and noisy intersection. So while it is for branding for the client, it's also a way of wayfinding to locate the gallery in sort of a different context than some of the galleries, in the middle of blocks and sort of quieter, smaller streets where the signage to the, right beside the entry door is enough. Where in this situation, it could be argued that it may not be. You can go ahead to the next slide. Just a couple of views of the building in context. The picture on the left is taken from the intersection of Madison Avenue and 79th Street, looking at it against its building to the corner. It's a pizza shop that has sort of a large signage just to the left of our building. And then on the image on the right is looking from 79th Street to the southeast, looking at the building from the other direction. It is sort of a 79th Street, obviously being both directions, it is a sort of a bigger intersection and much more difficult to find a gallery in that situation versus just walking past the building. So it would be more identifiable from across the street, across the intersection, to find the gallery with signage above the entry door. You can go ahead to the next slide. And then just a couple precedent images at the end. This is on 80th Street within the same historical district, just a block away, where two other galleries previously, historically, fully residential buildings that had been converted, at least partially, to commercial galleries that have been allowed to have signage above their front entry door, sort of noting the galleries in the context that you otherwise wouldn't realize from a residential facade. And then there should just be one more slide of precedents. And then these were just a few precedents that had similar size signage over the front entry doors of buildings nearby within the historical district. And I think that was it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, commissioners, do we have any questions? All right, I don't see any questions at this time, so we'll move to public testimony. And if you're in the meeting and would like to speak on this item, please raise your virtual hand so we can identify you, and I'll turn it over to Sasha Seeley.
All right, thank you. I do have Lara Varielli from Friends of the Upper East Side. Okay, Lara, I see that you have accepted my request. Please just turn on your mic and state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, thank you. Laura Varielli, representing Friends of the Upper East Side Historic Districts. Chair Carroll and Honorable Commissioners. Friends Preservation Committee takes no issue with the proposed signage. The material and typeface do not detract from the building's character and are in keeping with the style of the house. We appreciate the use of an adhesive to prevent perforating the limestone and hope that the patching for the removed sign is indiscernible. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let me just take a glance back over and see if I have any hands raised. And I do not see any hands raised, so there's no one else that wishes to speak on this item. I will just state for the record that Manhattan Community Board 8 recommends approval of this application, and I will hand it back over to you, Chair Carroll.
Okay, thank you. So the testimony was again supportive, Mr. Bauer, but if there's anything you'd like to say before we move to our discussion, please feel free to.
No, I think that's it. I just want to thank everyone again for taking the time to hear us out today.
Okay, thank you. And commissioners, if there are no final questions, I am going to go ahead and send you all requests to unmute yourselves. All right. And Commissioner Jefferson, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
I so motion.
Thank you. And Commissioner Chapin, would you second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Second.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed and we'll begin our discussion. So similar to the previous application, this is for signage in the entablature above the entry. In this case, a residential building that's been converted to a gallery and very near Madison Avenue, where there's a large commercial presence, and a double street. And the application is for 7-inch high letters that would be attached with an adhesive. Commissioner Holford Smith, would you start this one?
Sure. I find this to be very modest and reversible, and I think it's in keeping with other types of signage in the neighborhood, in the district, and I can find it appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Chapin.
I agree with all of that.
Commissioner Goldblum.
Me too, appropriate.
Commissioner Devonshire.
I think it's appropriate.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Appropriate.
Commissioner Gustafson.
Appropriate.
Okay. And Commissioner Shamir Barron.
Yes, I find it's appropriate.
Okay, so I think we all agree it's well scaled and modest and reversible. So Commissioner Holford Smith, would you go ahead and make that motion?
Sure. In the matter of LPC 22-03819, 20 East 79th Street in the Metropolitan Museum Historic District. A French neoclassical style house designed by CPH Gilbert and built in 1912. The application is to install signage. I note that the building's style, scale, materials, and details are among the features that contribute to the special architectural and historic character of the Metropolitan Museum Historic District. I recommend approval, finding that the proposed work will not damage or eliminate any significant features of the building, that the proposed signage consisting of adhesive mounted metal letters will be well scaled to the facade and is easily reversible, that the proposed location of the signage at the entablature of the entrance portico is a typical location for signage for residences that have been converted to commercial use, and that the work will not diminish the special architectural and historic character of the building or the historic district.
Thank you. And Commissioner Goldblum, would you second that motion?
Second.
Mark, will you call the vote?
Chair Carroll,
Aye.
Commissioner Shamir Barron,
Aye.
Commissioner Chapin,
Aye.
Commissioner Devonshire,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum,
Aye.
Commissioner Gustafson,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson,
Aye.
Commissioner Holford Smith.
Aye.
With 8 in favor and none opposed, the motion passes.
Right, so that's approved. Thank you. And that concludes our public hearing today. Thank you all for participating, and commissioners, as always, thank you for your commitment, dedication, and hard work. And we will not meet next week, and we'll meet again on April 5th. That's correct, right, Corey?
Okay.
Yes, okay.
All right. Bye.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Bye all.